Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to...
Hello, Striketh.
Who the hell are you?
I am the darkness that resides in all gamers' hearts. I am the terror that faps in the night.
Wait, did you just say...
I am Black Hood.
Really? That's your name?
Yeah, what about it?
I was just expecting something a little more, terrifying?
I spent all day thinking this up.
Right, so what the hell do you want?
I've been watching your videos, and so far, I've seen you review only the good ones while ignoring the bad ones. But that all changes today. I have a shitty game you must review.
Well, technically these aren't actually reviews, but I suppose I can give it a whirl. So what do you have in mind?
You will review Holy Avatar versus Maidens of the Dead.
That doesn't sound too bad, actually. It could even be fun.
It's worse than Empire Earth 3.
Dear God. No! Well, that was an experience. Ladies and gentlemen, the game we're taking a look at today is an RTS unlike anything most of you have seen before. Get out your body lotion and put on your best pose, as today we're going to an island resort to watch the Holy Avatar versus Maidens of the Dead. Holy Avatar vs. Maidens of the Dead is an RTS developed by Head Up Games. The game is a parody of other RTSs and is a sequel to two other games the studio has developed. These are Grotesque Tactics and Grotesque Tactics 2: Dungeons and Donuts. If you haven't caught on yet, then I'll just tell you outright. The story isn't meant to be taken seriously. The story is pretty simple. The Holy Avatar and his group of maidens arrive on a resort island to kick back and relax after their previous adventure. However, they quickly find out that they're not alone on the island, and not everything is as it appears to be. Like any good hero, the Holy Avatar immediately orders maidens to change into skimpy swimsuits, scout for him, and handle all the grunt work. I can already tell you that a lot of the females would be rather upset by how women behave and are treated in this game. There's a lot of dialogue that is just straight up offensive to women, but the game seems oblivious to this and just rolls with it. Other than that, the story is rather thin. There's a decent amount of dialogue along the way where the Holy Avatar talks about some of his adventures and such, but otherwise it's a pretty straightforward game. The Holy Avatar runs into some maidens along the way, some thankful for his presence and others not so thankful. The main villains end up being a pair named Sir Death and Voodoo Witch. The Voodoo Witch has turned many of the maidens on the island into zombies, with the goal of eventually turning the Holy Avatar into one as well. Her main henchman, Sir Death, is a powerful minion that spews just the right amount of cliched lines to fulfill his role. The story in this game is nothing exceptional, but if you can look past the flaws, it can be fun and even funny at times. With that in mind, I give the game 1 point under play for the story. If you're just looking for an RTS with a goofy and stupid story, then this is the game for you. However, I also give the game 1 point under don't play for the story as well. If story is important to you, then skip this game, period. Next up, the graphics. There's very little to say in regard to the overall aesthetics of the game. The graphics do the job, but they're nothing special. Also, everything has kind of a weird brightness to it, which can cause eye strain or headaches to those with sensitive eyes. Even playing around with the graphics settings, I just wasn't able to really obtain a good result. There are actually a good amount of graphics options, and so I'll give them props for that. The game is fairly odd in how it works in that regard. It kept locking to my secondary screen instead of my primary one. While there is an option in-game to move it to a second screen, this didn't appear to do anything, and whether it was ticked or not, it remained on the same screen for me. The fonts and dialogue on screen are also very difficult to read sometimes. I tend to have dialogue pop up over characters' heads, and it's very easy to miss this. Even if you don't miss it, It's not easily discernible from the background and can be hard to read before it vanishes forever. If you're looking for something with high graphical fidelity, then this is not going to be the game for you. The ability effects, the monsters, and the world are just not very impressive looking. So I have to give the game a point under don't play for the graphics. If graphics are important to you, or you're prone to getting headaches from video games, then you will want to skip out on this title. And now for the gameplay. This is the worst part of the game by far. I can forgive the other faults for the most part, but the gameplay is very clunky. Just moving around the world is tough, as the camera is a bit jerky, and has a tough time keeping up with your characters. Doing simple things like looting items is also not done well. They actually have a separate button for looting items, as it's often so difficult to tell where an item is that you have to click this button so that your characters will automatically run to where it is to obtain said item. In addition, targeting in combat is an absolute pain in the ass. Oftentimes, I would select an enemy with an ability, and it would either target another enemy on the other side of the screen, or it would simply hit the wrong enemy when it went off. Trying to back out of targeting an enemy is a pain in the ass, and most of the time I end up stuck on that one that I didn't intend to attack. The actual targeting system got me killed a couple of times because I ended up damaging the wrong enemy as well. Towards the end of the game, there's a very large difficulty spike where you have to fight 2 large groups of monsters in succession with no chance to heal up in between. Golden items are scarce in this game, and I found myself with no healing items and no way to obtain more healing items at that point. This resulted in a couple of deaths before I was finally able to get past that part. Annoyingly, if any other character dies except for the Holy Avatar, they will revive at the end of the battle. However, if the Holy Avatar dies, then it's game over for you and you have to repeat the whole section. I ended up having to basically kite with him since I had no healing items left for the second battle, and it was just not a good time. The final battle after that was a joke in comparison, so it seems like this section was just poorly balanced to me. I didn't even give you any warning before this, nor is there any way for you to stock up on items, even if you do have the gold before you go into this battle. This is just one of the many poor design decisions that plagues this game as an RTS. I have to give Holy Avatar vs. Maidens of the Dead a point under don't play for the gameplay and combat. It just doesn't feel good. It's not polished at all, and there's artificial difficulty spikes both in the design and implementation of the game. I cannot recommend this for fans of the RTS genre, as you'll come away very disappointed with how the game feels and plays. Lastly, the sound. The music, quite simply, does the job. There's a few different tracks for the combat in the different areas. None of them stand out in any way, and all of them are forgettable, but I can't really complain about them either. As I said, they do the job, and they fit the mood of the game, so there's nothing else to really say about the music. However, there are no English voiceovers, except for one particular spot.
So many sisters lost.
Yes, that is the only voice NPC in the entire game, and I have no idea why. The game is voiced in German, but not in English otherwise. Everything in English is text-based, so you'll have to do a lot of reading to get through this game. I find this rather unfortunate, as it would have really added a lot to the game if some of the jokes in various scenes were voiced instead of dialogue only. In fact, if the game was voiced, even if the voiceovers were bad, it would have made it much easier for me to recommend it. So I have to give the game another point under don't play for the sound. The music, while not bad, is not great either, and the non-existent voiceovers really take away from the story. Currently, this game is priced at 50% off on Steam at $4.99 USD until February 27th. The regular price is $9.99. All in all, you get about 5 to 6 hours of gameplay out of this game. Despite its flaws, for $5, it's hard for me to say that you should entirely skip the game. It's not a great game, nor is it even a good game, and yet it has a sort of weird charm to it that kept me playing it all the way to the end. The bad jokes, the sexism, and how the developers obviously intended for none of it to be taken seriously kept a light mood along the way. They even made some very obvious jokes about reviewers, as they brought in a critic who was severe about the Holy Avatar's questing, and basically knocked him over the head and fed him to zombies. So it's fairly clear about how the developers feel about game reviewers, based on that. At the regular price of $9.99, I feel this game is definitely not worth your money. But for the discount of 50% off, well, if you're looking for something to entertain you for an afternoon, then this isn't such a bad game for that purpose. As always, whether to play or not to play the game is up to you. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time. This is Strikeeth, checking out.